A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. There is a very important work, and I am going to show it and read it, so you may find something important. The concept of Logos in the non-synoptic gospel in New Testament, namely New Testament, it borrowed from the Logos of Philo. Almost all the qualities of Trinitarian Logos are found in Philo's Logos. Philo, born 20 BCE and died in 50 CE, was a Hellenistic Jew. He first proposed the concept of Logos. The author or authors of the non-synoptic, non-apocryphal gospel called Kata Ionean Evangelion borrowed the Logos theory. Later Christian scholars began to take these contents of the fourth gospel or the non-synoptic gospel independent of Philo. In Philo work, the Logos is a separate, intermediate ontological position. It is neither fully God nor wholly independent, neither fully created nor wholly uncreated. We can see what a Logos is in Philo's philosophy. Number one, neither fully God nor wholly separate. It's a very important thing that it is neither fully God nor wholly separate. Second, two, neither fully uncreated like God nor wholly created like the world. In better way, neither ex nihilo nor ex materia. 3. Neither strictly eternal nor rigidly temporal. Neither, that means not temporal as the world, as the cosmos, and not eternal like God. Neither a static attribute of God like wisdom or the power to speak, not the act of speaking, but the power to speak. Or you may say other attributes like justice, the power to make justice. Nor a substance, nor an act. So this is very important. Neither a static attribute of God like wisdom, nor a substance, nor an act. We will discuss later about the types of attributes of God. So Logos is not God nor an attribute of God, but an act of God. It is very important to note. Logos in Philo's work is a God in lower or lesser sense, not a God in higher or greater sense. So we can say that Logos is in Philo's work is a God, G small or G capital, but each time in lower or lesser sense, but not a God, G capital, in the higher or greater sense. Logos is the bonding power of all things. All things I mean in the cosmos, but or Logos is the binding power of all things. Logos is an image of God. Sound familiar? The Logos is an image of God. Well, at best one may say that not the original, but an image. Logos is the mediator or interstellar between God and the cosmos. This is very important. What is Logos in philosophy of Philo? That Logos is is a mediator or an intercessor between God and cosmos. Logos is instrument through which God bring things, or through which God brought cosmos in existence or into being. 10. Logos is the chief messenger. 11. Logos is emanated from God, not made by God. In a way, light is emitted from the sun but not made by the sun. And the 12th, Logos is the firstborn. Born, please note it down, firstborn, born, not made. So this was the Logos of Philo, and it may be noted, but rather it must be noted that Logos is not a substance. It is not an ousia. Logos is an act. And well, I will state it later. Later Christians often read Logos independent of John, as they thought that John is an independent composition, and or they deliberately ignore Philonic background, Philonic background. Two implications, that these are very necessary implications of Philo or Philo, you may say either way. First implication, God cannot do anything, any act, if Logos ceases to exist. This is a very important point, although this is a logical consequence that if God do everything with the help of Logos, then Logos, in the case Logos ceases, God cannot do anything. If Logos ceases to exist, then it is implied that God ceases to be active. So it may be seen that we are not saying that if Logos ceases to exist, God ceases to exist, but God ceases to be an active agent. It is impossible for God to do anything without Logos. Very similar consequence in Trinitarian theology. If Logos ceases to exist, every act through Logos ceases to exist, and probably the Spirit, which is issued from Father and the Logos jointly, ceases to exist. Second point, that is the logical reasoning, that an agent and the act of the agent, may be called one in some sense. And we see that I and my Father are one. So it is very it is in harmony with the concepts present in the non-synoptic gospel in New Testament. In Philo's frame, the Logos is neither God nor a static attribute of God like wisdom, nor created ex nihilo, nor created ex materia, but an act emanated from God. This is a very important point. The author of the non-synoptic gospel only add one thing. He introduced the incarnation dogma. Did the author of non-synoptic gospel learn the philosophy directly from Philo, or he learned it from his books or from his student or some of his student, is a problem in itself. Nothing is known with clarity. But a greater problem was that later Christians, Trinitarians, tried to understand the gospel or the non-synoptic gospel in New Testament independent of Philo, and this was the great problem. This made them to assume that Logos is not something as Philo has said, but they went far beyond him and made Logos a hypostasis in the ousia of God. We shall discuss Philo's influence on the author of non-synoptic gospel. Since his influence on the author is obvious, it is probable that this book was not written by a single person, I mean the non-synoptic gospel, but by a community of persons which was ascribed to John or Yohanan. You may say that this is very strange thing, and one of the things that most people try to miss deliberately is that gospel, the non-synoptic gospel, the fourth gospel, or the most young gospel in New Testament, is highly influenced by, or greatly influenced in better way, by the theology of Philo. And this concludes that the Logos was, God was Logos, or Logos was God. It is in Philo's sense, not in the sense of later Trinitarian dogma. Kaithos hologos. What does this mean? This means that Logos, a God was the Logos, or God was Logos. But even if you say the Logos was God with G capital, it is wholly metaphorical. And I and my Father are one. This shows that oneness is of agent and the act, or it may be noted that oneness of agent and the act is different from hypostatic oneness, as well as the oneness of purpose or agreement. It is between these two extremes. So what Philo proposed was borrowed by the author or authors of the non-synoptic gospel, but unfortunately later scholars tried to understand this. Perhaps they did not get any access to the Philo's work, and they interpreted as they liked to interpret, and finally they came to the conclusion that Logos is a hypostasis in the ousia of God instead of an emanated thing. So one may once again reconsider that Logos or Logos or Logos or Logos whatsoever, or word whatsoever, is not a hypostasis, but it is in the sense of Philo, not in the sense taken from the non-synoptic gospel by later Trinitarians. I hope that this will be very informative video. Thanks.